Hi everyone, welcome back to Fun with Ngang. That's me. I hope you all are doing well. Hope you have a nice beverage with you. I am drinking an iced coffee in my cute mug with my son on it that I got for, oh, it's a little wet. Got from my daycare, or his daycare, as a Christmas present. So I love this mug. It's my new favorite thing. Okay, so I wanted to film this video about my birth story, and no notes needed because it's one of the best days of my life and I remember every detail like it was yesterday. I had my son about he's 2.5 now. He's gonna turn 3 in June. So I feel like there's a lot of birth stories out there, and there's a lot of scariness surrounding birth, and I wanted to put my story out there because it wasn't that scary for me. It was kind of scary, but it was actually a really positive birth story, because when I was preparing for birth, I didn't know what to expect. I was so scared. And you know, the movies, the media that we see, it's always like the woman's in a lot of pain and she's laying on her back, but then I've also watched things, the documentary The Business of Being Born in my women's studies class when I was in college, and that movie really changed my perspective on the way we give birth in America. So if you haven't watched that documentary yet, I highly recommend you check it out. It's called The Business of Being Born. I'll probably pop a picture of it up here or something. And then while I was pregnant, I was also reading the book Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. I'll put it right here. And highly recommend that book as well. Okay, so let me set the scene for you. It was a Wednesday. I had went to work that day, and mind you, when I got pregnant, it was 2020, smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. I had a pandemic baby, and I was working online. I was teaching art online, but June 16th was the last day of school. So I go into my classroom, and it's so weird because everything stayed exactly like it was, because we weren't allowed to come in at all. So everything stayed the same, but I went in to take all the students' artwork down from the walls and just prepare for the next school year. So I was like up on desks, removing staples, taking artwork down, like 9 months pregnant, and didn't think much of it. You know, I was gonna come back the next day and continue taking stuff down. But that night, I just remember having like so much energy. I couldn't sleep, so I just laid there in bed scrolling, and then I saw Trevor Noah was coming to Portland, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna take the baby to go see Trevor Noah. That's gonna be his first concert or show. So I was buying Trevor Noah tickets, and then I feel like water down there, like a river. So I was like, oh, okay, is that my water or something? I don't know. I've never had a baby before. So I went to the bathroom. I thought it was like pee or something. Then I came back to my bed, and then like more water started coming out. I was like, oh, okay. And then so I put a pad there, changed my underwear, put a pad, and then I started feeling contractions. I was like, oh. So I started journaling it. I started writing it down, and it was like 15 minutes, and then it started becoming 10 minutes apart. So I was like, okay. So I woke up my partner, my baby daddy. I said, don't freak out, Ray, but I think it's happening. So he was like, really? I was like, yeah, I don't know. So we don't know what we're doing. I then called the hospital, because at this point they were like 10 minutes apart. So I called them, and then it started, right, like as I'm on the phone with them, the contractions started coming sooner and sooner, like 5 minutes apart, 3 minutes, and I was like, yeah, I'm timing my contractions, and oh, here's another one. you know, oh, here's another one. And she's like, okay, it sounds like you should come in. And we're like, what? We weren't ready at all because my due date wasn't until like 8 days away. So looking back, we should have been ready, like with a bag and everything, but we were just, I don't know why in my head I was thinking that he was gonna be late, because I hear so many people say that their first babies were late. So I was expecting to have my baby after the due date. And but he came 8 days before. Okay, his due date was supposed to be June 24th. He was supposed to be Cancer baby, but he came 8 days before. He ended up being a Gemini. Okay, so we're like frantically packing our bags. I'm like on the medicine ball bouncing. I don't know what I'm doing. And then, so okay, that was when I first started feeling, when my water started broke. It was 2:30 in the morning. By the time we left to go to the hospital, it was 4 o'clock. Because I wanted to labor at home as much as possible, because I hear that was a thing, and I didn't want to be like in a hospital strapped down to a bed. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna labor as much as I can. 4 o'clock, we head up to the hospital, and it was like a 9-minute drive. I remember it was like the longest 9 minutes of my life because I'm having contractions and it was painful. And we get to the hospital at 4:20, and I remember because, you know, 4:20, and we get there. It's hella early, everyone's like sleepy vibes, and I'm like, ah, and they have me in this little tiny room with the monitors, and they have me all plugged in. And I'm like, ooh, I was having contractions. Like, I can't sit here anymore. I need to get up and walk. And I was like, I really need to pee. I kept saying, I need to pee, I need to pee. And so they let me go to the bathroom with all the stuff still connected to me, all the finger monitored things, and like no pee came out. I was like, nothing's coming out. And she's like, that's your baby's head. I was like, oh my gosh. So I come back and she's like, okay, we called your doctor, she's on her way. And at this point, Ray's trying to call my doula on the phone, but she's not answering. So he's trying to call my doula still. And she's like, we called your doctor, she's on her way. I was like, okay, like whatever happens, like I'm not waiting for nobody, because it was happening. And she checked me and she said I was 7 centimeters. Okay, so then she was like, okay, now we're gonna move you to the birthing room. So we go over to the birthing room. I'm like, ah, I need to go poop. I was like, I need to sit down. So I sit down on the toilet again, nothing's coming out. And she's like, you're not gonna have your baby in the toilet. My nurse, she said, you're not gonna have your baby in the toilet, are you? And I was like, no, I'm not. I was like, oh gosh. I was just having so much pain, so much pressure down there. And she said, well, I could draw you a bath. Would that make you feel better? I said, yes, that sounds really nice. So I got up from the bathroom. At this point, I have my black tank top on and I have my hospital gown on. But I got up and I was like, oh, the hospital gown, I took it off. I was like, this is too uncomfortable. I just wanted to walk around. And as I was walking, blood oozed down. And she's like, oh, no worries, no worries. She grabbed some towels, like wiped it up. And at this point, all the nurses are like frantically running around, like grabbing all the supplies. And the nurse came in with like a needle and an IV bag. I was like, no, I don't want an IV bag. Because I always wanted a natural birth since I was young, because my mom had me naturally. And you know, I hear horror stories of people getting epidurals and all of that, and I don't know, I'm just like a low-key hippie. I'm actually a hippie, and I wanted to be there. I want to feel it, and I didn't want to be drugged up. Okay, so I was like, I said no to the IV, and I was like, forgetting the doctor's not there yet, my doula's not there, but I was like, I need to start pushing. So I go onto the hospital bed and I started the this position was squatting. I was squatting, and that was good. I had my nurse on one side, her name's Darlene, and then I had my partner on one side, and they were holding me while I was squatting on the bed and pushing, and that felt good. And then I was like, you know what, maybe I'll try the whole laying down like in the movies type of thing. And I did that. I was like, oh, this does not feel good at all. So I can't believe people give birth in that position, because that was the least comfortable position for me. So then I started so then I got on my hands and knees, cat-cow position, if you've ever done yoga like that. So that position felt the best for me, cat-cow. And I was just pushing, you know, I was kind of screaming because it was hurting. And I was like, I had cotton mouth. I didn't know that was a symptom of giving birth. So I kept asking, like, is this normal? I have cotton breath. And the nurse was like, yeah, that's normal. And so Ray's like squeezing water into my mouth from one of those like squeezy water bottles. Kind of like I'm a football player or something. So it really felt like I was playing football, because I was down here on my hands and knees pushing, and all of a sudden I hear the doctor like back there. I didn't even get to see her face. Okay, she just popped back there and she's like, you're doing great, you're doing great, I see your baby. And I was like, oh my gosh. And let me tell you this, I've never even met my doctor that delivered my baby, because the hospital I was at, they rotate doctors, and during my pregnancy I would have appointments to like meet them all. And the day that my son was born, that was the day I had the doctor's appointment to meet the doctor. So I've never even met this doctor. I don't even remember her face, okay, because I'm on my hands and knees, she's there, she pops back there, kind of like a football player. And she's like, I see your baby, I see his head, you're doing great. And I said, it hurts. And she's like, that's good, that's good. She said, you're so strong, you're amazing. She said, push towards the pain. And I was like, what? She's like, you gotta push towards the pain. And that was kind of like because I'm glad she showed up when she did, because I was kind of like scared because the pain was getting like intense. So right when she showed up, she kind of gave me more like assurance, motivation, like she showed up perfectly. The doctor said, you're doing great, push towards the pain. And I let out a scream, ah, like the loudest scream and the biggest push. And then she said, one more time, push through towards the pain. And I said, ah. I screamed so loud. I did a big push and came out. They said, grab your baby, it's a boy. Because we wanted to keep the sex or gender or whatever a surprise. So they're like, it's a boy. I was like, oh. I grabbed my baby, I turned around, and he was like so cute, perfect. And they put him right on my boobie, and he started sucking right away, and they're like, ooh, he knows exactly what to do. And yeah, that's how I give birth to my son. And the whole thing from start to finish, 3 hours. 2:30 I started contracting, right? 4:20 I got to the hospital. At 5:26 my son was born. 3, 4, 5, yeah, 3 hours total. So all the nurses were like smiling, happy. They're like, that was the most fun birth I've had in a while. I was like, really, thanks. And then she said, you know, it's genetic, so you should ask your mom how your birth was, because a lot of times if your mom had a quick birth, then you would have a quick birth. It's genetic. And I had never thought to ask my mom about my birth, like what it was like. Besides, she just told me it hurt and she had me and I was all natural. And she found, so I asked her like, hey mom, like how long was my birth? And she said 3 hours. So turns out 3 hour births run in my family. So now that I am starting the surrogacy process, I'm kind of curious to see what my second birth is like, because my mom only had 1 kid. She's only had 1 pregnancy, 1 birth. And me, I'm about to enter into my second pregnancy, my second birth. for a whole other family. Yeah, so it's gonna be pretty crazy. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that story. I hope it inspires you, or you know, that you could do this. Natural birthing is possible even if you go to a hospital. Okay, then I think the nurse just knew. I had made this beautiful birth plan. I laminated it and everything, and we forgot it at home. You know, she knew exactly what I wanted. I didn't want to like give the baby a bath after I gave birth. You know, I wanted to keep that white sticky stuff on him. She knew that. She knew I wanted all natural. I didn't want any painkillers, any epidural, anything like that. I didn't even get an IV the whole time I was there. So I did get really dehydrated and very constipated for the next 3-4 days, and the first poop after was terrible, and I did tear. I had to get about 6 stitches down there. I don't care. It was the best birth, best experience, and I was at a hospital and I was scared, but I did it. So you could do it too, okay? And even if you try but you end up getting, you know, all of that intervention, it's okay. Okay, no pressure and no judgment. It's just I would like to put my positive birth story out there, just so people get a perspective of, you know, a positive birth. You don't hear about positive births very often. I was expecting to labor for hours, days even, you know. I was just expecting the worst, and kind of the opposite happened. I just ended up having the best birth ever. So yeah, thanks for listening. I hope you have a great day. There's my baby. Isn't he cute? That's not the best picture of him, but it's pretty cute.